The English language represents an interesting mix of European dialects that coalesced into a single language. Invasions, epidemics, and other events have left indelible marks on the language throughout its long history. Linguistics typically break this history down into three major periods: Old English, Middle English, and Modern English.
Old English, the earliest written form of the language, was brought to Britain by German immigrants, and as auxiliary troops employed by the Romans. The islands of Britain were a destination for the Roman legions due to several factors, but pressure from the Church to convert the Celtic peoples played a significant role in the decision to occupy the region. After defeating the Germanic tribes, the empire attempted to curb the possibility of insurrection by drafting men of the defeated tribes into service. The Roman occupation of Britain was made possible by these Germanic troops, which had a lasting effect on the language of the region. In addition, two more inventions significantly affected the formation of Old English. Scandinavian forces invaded and occupied portions of Britain, and shortly thereafter, Normans from present-day France invaded the region. On one hand, the Scandinavian influence on the language encouraged grammatical simplicity. On the other, the Norman invaders spoke a French dialect, which supplemented English vocabulary significantly.
Since portions of Britain were under the rule of the Roman Empire for quite some time, higher-ranking officers in the military charged with keeping order in Britain spoke Latin. As a matter of bureaucratic necessity, many Latin words were incorporated into Old English as well. But in spite of the bureaucratic use of Latin, French was the preferred dialect of rulers after the fall of the Roman Empire, when Norman kings eventually took over. It then remained so for several hundred years. However, the common people never adopted it, opting instead for the traditional Old English that was established in the region. Nevertheless, several French words and grammatical habits were incorporated into Old English, and the subsequent shift resulting in what linguists call Middle English. Middle English was primarily spoken, but most literature was published in the French dialect of those that could read, the upper ruling class.
Then, in the 15th century, spoken dialects of English underwent a dramatic shift that incorporated deformed and longer vowel sounds. This change in language, known as the Great Vowel Shift, was adopted at a surprising pace. Most attribute this in some way to the Black Death, a plague that killed millions across Western Europe, including Britain. Some urge that the number of deaths in the upper class allowed for more social mobility, and that subsequently allowed the language change to spread across class lines quickly. Other things, geographic change caused by the Black Death had more to do with the quick adoption of this dialectic change. Whatever the case may be, with the adoption of the Great Vowel Shift, the stage was set for the English language as we know it. Early Modern English, the dialect that evolved after the Great Vowel Shift, provided the foundation for contemporary version of English. In addition, the end of the 13th century saw the decline of French dialects among the ruling class and an increased use of English. This created an environment friendly to literature published in English, which served to secure and codify the linguistic structure of the language.
English is a fascinating language, as it contains a vast number of words incorporated from other languages. In 1973, a computer-aided analysis of English revealed some fascinating statistics about the language. 75% of the language was composed of words originating from French, Latin, or Germanic dialects. Even more fascinating is that each of these languages contributed an almost equal number of words to English.
Since the Great Vowel Shift, there has not been a significant or dramatic change in the language. That is not to say, however, that it has remained static since then. Changes are occurring in spoken and written English, with new words being incorporated into the dialects on an almost daily basis. As the influence of English expands and more people use it, the influence of accents and new words inevitably increases. Far from being static, the English language is alive and dynamic to the present day.